Ready to attract more of what you desire? Join the Manifest Abundance Challenge. This free 7-day challenge teaches you powerful techniques to clear blockages, raise your vibration, and manifest miracles. Click on the show notes to sign up for free. Hello, welcome back to another episode of Breathe More. I'm Anna Lilia. For today's topic, I want us to talk about self-sabotage. I'm seeing it everywhere. I wanted to stop because at the end of the day, we're just hurting ourselves. There's some other people who might also get hurt due to our actions or inactions because of self-sabotage. But this is something that I've been seeing quite a bit, and it's something I help my clients navigate through. So let's talk about it. So self-sabotage, what is it? For me, what it means, it's an conscious or unconscious way that we are hindering our progress, our growth, our success. There's things that we're doing that's just creating a stop. We're disrupting the flow that maybe we have going. And it can look in a lot of different ways, from negative self-talk to procrastination. I think perfectionism is also a manifestation of self-sabotage. It's a lot of things. It's also a trauma response, but definitely procrastination, we can just get stuck on it and then not move forward because of it. Also, avoidance. Avoidance is such a big thing. Ghosting, not having those difficult conversations, not taking responsibility for our lives, being in the victim mode. It can be deep seated limiting beliefs or fear, past experiences that have influenced how we see ourselves and how we see others. So, overwhelm is another one. Believe it or not, the self sabotage where we are just pushing ourselves to the point where we get burnt out or we're just overwhelmed. We have anxiety. And this is also very layered because it can be tied to the people pleasing. It can be tied to the perfectionism, the fear of disappointing. So there's definitely a lot of layers. So I want you to think about, in what ways does self-sabotage manifest in your life? Are you someone who procrastinates? For you, does it look like the never-ending to-do list that just keeps growing and then also brings you anxiety and shame and guilt because you just can't seem to get those things done? Are you so critical with yourself and constantly beating yourself up, thinking you're never good enough, that whatever you do isn't enough? Do you struggle with avoidance? That kind of ties to procrastination, but it can also look differently. I think avoidance right now, the way that I'm seeing it in a lot of folks, is avoiding confrontation, avoiding difficult conversations, avoiding being vulnerable and just communicating what is going on. I know a lot of my clients who are single and dating, they really struggle and feel so frustrated with being ghosted, where there's conversation, there's even dating that happens, like they're seeing each other and then all of a sudden they just don't hear from them. It's so hurtful and confusing as well. And then for the person ghosting, I wonder, like, what is going on? What is the worst thing that your brain is thinking is going to happen that you're just completely avoiding, that you're disappearing? For you, does it manifest in perfectionism, where your standards are so unrealistic, where you also then become paralyzed in it because maybe you even start to do it and just feel that it's not enough and you just give it up? Or maybe you're so caught up in the perfectionism that you don't even start because you don't even know the first step to take. Or you're so paralyzed with fear unconsciously of making a mistake, of people, I don't know, laughing at you or making fun of you or putting you down, that your brain's like, no way, we're not even going to do it because or try to do it because we don't even know how to. For you, does it look like this sense of failure, overwhelm, that you have a lot of projects that you start, but then you don't complete? What is that about? So these are all examples that I've seen in my clients that I help them navigate. Some of them I have also struggled with. The perfectionism is something definitely that was a big part of my life for a long time. For me, it manifested as a survival mechanism with having an alcoholic dad and not having a safe environment to make mistakes. If I made a mistake, I would get in trouble. I would get yelled at. I would get hit. So I quickly learned that I needed to be perfect, and not just in the actions that I took, but just in general. Then I also got positive reinforcement when I did quote unquote good job. So as much as self-sabotage is helping us in the sense of it's keeping you safe, our mind, our nervous system, that is its goal. Are we going to stay alive? What can we do to stay alive? And so even the things that logically don't make sense, it's like, of course, I'm not in danger or my life isn't going to be threatened if I just try something new. And even if I make a mistake or fail, like I'm still going to survive that. But your brain doesn't know that. And so it creates all of these hurdles and out of all of these thoughts and loops to keep you in the same place. And so self-sabotage is hurting ourselves. It's hurting us because we stay in this place of inaction. We stay in this place of also just like disappointment. And it prevents us from really cultivating our true potential, from manifesting, from having healthy relationships. It robs us from our joy, from our success, like so many good things. Because all of the list of things that we just talked about is laced with fear, where unconsciously our mind is like, this is dangerous, we can't go there, or this is what's going to keep us surviving. So after you have identified how self-sabotage manifests in your life, can you start to think about what is the root cause? This is the digging work that I love to do with my clients, where I help them identify, where did this originate? Or this negative self-talk that's so loud in your mind, is that truly your voice or is it someone else's voice? A lot of times when I ask that question of my clients, they will tell me, oh, that's definitely my mom's voice, or that's my dad's voice, or that's a teacher's voice. You know, someone who at a certain point in their life, most likely when they were younger, were very critical of them. And that voice has remained in their unconscious mind and has dominated so much of how they think and they see themselves. Is the core of this self-sabotage for you a fear of success? It's so fascinating, that topic and theme of fear of success. I know that unconsciously I've had to rework that. As ambitious as I am, as much as someone who loves to dream big, I mean, my business is called that, Dream Bigger Media. I have my mastermind that's called that. Like, I love empowering people and helping people to dream bigger. But at the same time, I have noticed that my self-sabotage has creeped up when I've gotten big opportunities, because deep down inside, I've been afraid of that next level. I'll give you a tangible example where about 5 years ago, I think now, I was on the front page of the LA Times. And I got a lot of attention from it. I had other news outlets reach out. I even had a book agent reach out and ask me if I was interested in writing a book. And I looked up who this person is, and she is someone whose authors are people that I admire. Like, she's a real thing, the real thing. And my response to her was, it is part of my future plan, but right now I don't have a topic. And I told friends about this afterwards and they thought I was insane. They're like, what do you mean you turned this down? Like, just write something, just do it. And there's a lot of people who would. And my decision on responding in that way was, I think, at the core, like fear of failing and then success. Like, what would that mean? And not feeling like I didn't really have a message to say at that moment, besides just telling my life experience. And so for me, it's like twofold. Like, the way that I like to do things, and I do think that this is also an example of self sabotage, is I want to feel as prepared, or I wanted to be as authentic as possible and true to me. And if there's a part of me that's wavering in the vision, in the confidence, in the belief that I want to do it, that I'm ready to do it, then I don't do it. And I do wonder a lot of times, what would happen if I just did it? Last week in my Dream Bigger Mastermind, we were talking about reflecting because we're coming to wrapping up our time together, 6 months together. And one of my clients shared that after attending one of my breathwork circles in LA, my full moon circle, that she just started to have a fuck it attitude where all of the doubt would come through, the negative self talk, all of the things that would tell her, no, don't do it. What are people going to think? The fear. And for her whole life, that has stopped her. That has stopped her from showing up on social media to promote her services. It has stopped her from having a bigger practice. It has stopped her from having more money, so much. And she finally decided, you know what? I'm just going to go for it. Fuck it. Who cares? And when she shared that with our group, it was so inspiring. And I could see her whole energy shift, just embodying that attitude like, who cares? This is what I want to share right now. It's not going to be perfect. I'm doing my best. And that's all that matters. And more than anything, it's just creating momentum. And so when she said that, other folks as well said, hey, you know what? I need to embody that attitude too. And so I do wonder for myself as well, like these big opportunities that have come my way and I didn't feel ready, or I didn't feel that it was the time. And so I've said, no, what would have happened if I just said yes and figured it out along the way? So I also am still navigating that, healing from past traumas, healing from past experiences, really believing in myself and just giving myself the opportunity to try, to fail, to just live life, because that is what life is, right? A combination of all of it: successes, disappointments, heartbreak, joy, expansion, contraction. We wouldn't be able to appreciate or experience joy or love if we didn't have the shadow part, if we didn't have the difficulties, if we didn't have the struggles. And so it all plays into it. So going back to thinking about, where does this self-sabotage, the way that it manifests for you, where does it originate from? And then there are probably going to be some healing that needs to be done. And so whether it's through journaling, whether it's through some inner child healing, self-love, coming to me so I can guide you through it, it's important to close that cycle, that circle, that loop that's still open and showing up in your life today that just isn't supporting you. Then also some practical things that you can do to overcome self-sabotage is, number one, identify your triggers. Know when your thoughts, feelings, situations get activated, that you go into these protective mechanisms of the avoidance, of just keeping yourself busy, the negative self-talk. Like, identify, become aware of when you're activated, and then do things to support yourself, to regulate yourself so that you're not in this fight or flight, activated nervous system, and you can finally make a different decision choose a different action, show up courageously, and have that difficult conversation. So if you struggle with negative beliefs, can you make a list of them and then challenge them? Just write down, is this a true statement or is this a lie? Is there some truth to it? Is there a different way that you can frame it so that it's not negative? Is there maybe a way that you can state it so that it's more like a transition where I'm learning or I'm working towards, as opposed to just a flat no? Another practical tool that you can use is set realistic goals for yourself at the beginning. These bigger goals, break them down into more manageable steps so that you can take action. Because where you are today and where you want to be in the future, that could be a really big leap, and your mind might not believe that you're able to achieve that. So then with that, we need more proof for it that it can get there, or exposure therapy, or just desensitizing your mind to what is possible. When I say exposure therapy, I mean like immersing yourself in the environments that you want to be a part of so that you can start to feel comfortable there, so that you can start to feel like you belong. I've done that as well. I have joined organizations, I have joined memberships, I have joined groups where I felt like everyone else was way more successful, way more talented, way more wealthy, and I really didn't have a place for it. And it felt scary and it felt like a stretch. But I decided to invest in myself and put myself in those places so that I can also just prove to myself they're just people. Sure, okay, some of them may have more money than me, but they also still struggle with the same things. Or just because they have more money or quote unquote success, a bigger company, whatever it is, doesn't mean that they're better than me, doesn't mean that I don't belong here. It doesn't mean that I don't have something to contribute. And that has been my reality, where then now I have evidence and proof that I do belong there. As I just said, that I can contribute, that I can have a conversation with them, that I can inspire them as well, that my experience growing up, that my story should be shared in these places of privilege, to expose them as well that not everybody has the same reality. My other suggestion to you is to practice self-compassion. So be kind to yourself, speak to yourself in a loving way, be more patient. Catch yourself when you go into being mean to yourself. And a way that I like to overcome that is by thinking of me as a child. Would I speak to myself as a child using those words? No, because it's so cruel. It's so painful. And then my last suggestion to you is to seek support. It is very difficult to have true transformation alone. I always say, if you knew how to do this work, if you knew how to get out of your way, if you knew how to stop the self-sabotage, you would already be there. And yes, listening to podcasts like this one is helpful. Reading the self-help books is helpful. But there's nothing like, for me and what I see for my clients, like being in a community that is going to be a mirror for you, that's going to challenge you, that's going to hold you accountable. To work with someone that's going to shine light on like, oh, I see you going into this pattern again, and work through it. Have a solution that you may have never thought of. Another example is coming to mind right now where this is actually in my moon circle, but this person is also in my Dream Bigger Mastermind. And they were sharing that they were feeling really overwhelmed because they are someone who starts a lot of projects, has so many ideas, but has a really hard time completing them. And then also the to-do list is really long and it's creating a lot of anxiety and a lot of shame because it's one thing that has been on there for months and she's just not feeling inspired. She's not feeling motivated. And it's bringing up all these feelings of like, I'm a failure. And so I was coaching her to first just find out, like, why are you avoiding this? Are you feeling resentful? Is this something that you don't know how to do? Do you need support? And it's like, no, I'm the only one that has to do it. I'm just not feeling creatively inspired to create for this client that hired me to make these things for them. So it's like, okay, if you're not feeling creative or inspired in your space, can you go somewhere else to create the art? Can you reach out to a friend who does something similar and come together to create? Right. So it's helpful to just get the opinion of someone else, because when we're in it, it's hard for us to see a different reality. We're just stuck in the same place. And so through my coaching and guidance, I was able to create a disruption in the pattern that her mind was stuck in. And now she saw possibility. And now what she was dreading, it's like, oh, there's a solution. This is what I'm going to do. There's action steps now that she's going to take. So joining a group of people like my Dream Bigger Mastermind, it's such a powerful and transformative place for you to overcome the self-sabotage and learn tools and become empowered and start to show up for yourself and your life in a different way. Speaking of my Dream Bigger Mastermind, we are starting the next cohort in September. The first group is starting on Tuesday, September 17th. And this is a 6-month program where we really, truly have life transformation. We were just reflecting last week, and I would say about 50% of the people in my Dream Bigger Mastermind who joined in fall are now making way more money. They are healthier. Several people share that they've lost like 30 pounds in the time together. And their goal was not to join to lose weight. It was all the other healing, reprogramming, rewiring, how they had dedicated and committed to themselves every week for the last 6 months, 90 minutes to themselves, to their well-being, to their growth, to their healing, to their manifestation. And this is someone who's very busy. This is a mom with a small child who also has her own business. And because of that, she has changed how she shows up for herself, making herself a priority, taking care of herself, how she's eating, how she's moving her body. So that was really incredible just to hear the realization of like, wow, this is another thing that I manifested almost indirectly from all of the actions that I've taken while being in Dream Bigger Mastermind. People have created businesses. People are making, as I mentioned, more money, but I'm thinking specifically of another client who already had the business and she's grown it. This isn't like someone getting a new job. We had several of that too. But self-entrepreneurs in my Dream Bigger Mastermind also learning how to bring in new clients, improving their marketing. I help them with that too, their messaging, and then also helping them heal their money stories so that they're able to receive, so they're not feeling the shame or guilt when charging appropriately, quote unquote, appropriately for their prices, not undercharging basically. So there's a lot of things that we do in the Dream Bigger Mastermind. If you're curious to learn more, make sure you get on the wait list for my Dream Bigger Mastermind. Also, I am going to be having conversation with folks who want to join to learn more about what your goals are. How do you need support? Do you know what's getting in the way? And I'll be honest with you and let you know whether this program is right for you, or if maybe you first need to concentrate more on doing the deep healing work so that we can show up and take more action and manifest in our Dream Bigger Mastermind. All right, friends, I hope that this topic of self-sabotage resonated with you. If you know someone who struggles with self-sabotage, if you've recognizing like this person is totally avoidant, this person goes, this person really struggles with a negative self-talk, share with them this episode so that they can learn some tools on how to navigate it. And let's continue to spread the word on helping more people step into their own expansive life and heal and continue to breathe. I appreciate you. I love you. I'm cheering you on from here. And we'll be back next week. Bye.